Welcome to Nuance with Nikki. So, the woman on the screen next to me over here, her mother gave her the name Lillian Chacha, but South Africa has given her the names Bohlale in Sesotho and Setswana, which means the wise one, wisdom. Naledi, the star, I believe that's a Tswana name. Nonceba is her Xhosa name because it's merciful. Lerato and Tandeka. Tandeka is the Zulu version of Lerato. It means the one filled with love. Lalela, which means the one who listens. And Azania, which means South Africa. Right? We just want to thank you for not fetishizing us, for not reducing us, not demonizing us, for actually listening to our side of the story and realizing that we're a real country, not just a fairy godmother that's supposed to be overburdened with everybody else's problems, an idea in a textbook. And I'll get more to that later in the video. Nonceba, Bohlale. Okay, so I just want to show something from your video and respond to it. As I understand it, it wasn't actually Tandeka over here who said it. It was actually the guy that I call the leech. I'm going to call him the leech. The leech is loose, right? But it is a point of discussion, and I want to give you the context of what is happening. Okay, and I'd appreciate it if you responded to this on your video as well. You know I'm a huge fan of you.
There is this South African citizen. Well, they say the black South Africans, white South Africans, colored South Africans, Indian South Africans. I wish they could just do away with this thing of colorism and just call themselves South Africans because that's who they are. Right, my dear South Africans? You are all South Africans regardless of your skin color.
Thank you so much for that input, and believe it or not, we agree with this, but I'm trying to demonstrate something here. South Africans are already having that debate. We are minding our South African business really well, and it's so patronizing when people mind the business for us when they don't know the context. Okay, we are debating it. There's a whole organization called People Against Race Classification. Okay, and they have an argument for that. So thank you guys for handling it for us. We are handling it. Okay, we also have a popular saying, no DNA, just RSA. So spiritually and emotionally, of course, we want to live in a world with no DNA, just RSA, right? And the truth is, if you guys actually looked into our history, you would understand that not everybody classified as white was 100% white. You would know about honorary white status, which included Malawians. It included the Japanese, whereas Chinese fell under generally black. It included African Americans. It included the New Zealand Maoris, and the New Zealand Maoris were the first ones, guys. They were the first ones to actually protest against race classification, against the honorary white status. Only one African American is famous for doing that. His name is Arthur Ashe. You guys can go and check all these things. Because New Zealand protested against being called honorary white, that started the protests around the world against apartheid. And Mandela said it was as if the sun came out. I hope, and it's my dream to do a video on this one day, but I really want to do it respect, because we are alive today, we are free today because of New Zealand. So I just wanted to say there's a lot of context when people reduce us to just a chapter in a textbook. Sorry guys, I didn't show you properly, so I want to go back to some of the things. Okay, there's the whole organization called People Against Race Classification. Okay, here's no DNA, just RSA. Okay, that is a real saying that we very proudly say today. But I want you to know this People Against Race Classification, who started it. It was actually a colored gentleman. Okay, read the thing, colored teacher on fraud charge for saying he was African. He was charged with fraud. This was only in 2020. There he is. Okay, and so he was charged with fraud. Okay, and there were real reasons for that. But guys, we are debating it. One of the things I do want to argue, though, as much as I want to live in a world where there is no race classification, guys, I come from a mixed race family that predates the apartheid era and continued to intermarry, legal or illegal, during the thing. And I grew up in the grey area called Hillbrow, which was the only place in the whole country where people were allowed to live interracially. See, there's a whole history here. Guys, it would benefit me more than many people, you know, but the practical reality on the ground is that you know that this race relation thing has a history, a very recent history of inequality. We have to be able to take data. We have to be able to take census. Otherwise, we cannot assess how much progress we have made, and if we are failing, how do we address that? Do you understand? The people it would give the biggest disservice to is poor black people. Okay? We need to understand what we have to address and how much. We have to take data. That is the adult ugly reality. We cannot say apartheid is over practically if we don't have that data. We cannot hold the ANC accountable for how much they have failed in addressing that equality, how much they have used the label black to only enrich their families while further impoverishing the whole country, right? The whole country they impoverished further than we were at apartheid, other than their best friends, right? And so what has happened as a result is that the poorest of the poor are economically, not politically, in a worse position. That's up for debate. But even those of us in the middle class, we are of all colors. Those of us in the upper classes, we are of all colors. We desperately want to help. I will show you footage later, or you can find it in many of my other footage, But the more they impoverish us, the less we are able to. We really are a nation of a concept called Ubuntu. It's a mixture of the word Umuntu, which means person, Abantu, which means people. So Ubuntu, mixes those two words together. And there are people across all races trying daily to address this. I wish you guys could see inside our WhatsApp groups and Facebook groups the humanity that is there. But for now, I do want to address this thing where he was given a fraud child. It's also unfair. And that is because many people in South Africa think of South Africa as having had the status of black at the bottom, colored at the top, Indian above that, and white, and that somehow it's all about proximity to whiteness. When I would say my perception of the reality of South Africa was that it was something like this. Here are the 10 class groups in South Africa, right? So there were black and color whatever people, and there were white people that intersected, right? But whereas LSM 10 is the lowest you can go. I perceive, this is not anybody else's data, this is my perception, that the colored person was right there at number 8 sometimes, the majority, but there were ones, this is my perception though. I would want somebody more educated than me to do this, okay? And this was kind of a picture, I don't even know, I was supposed to play with this picture. I was going to play with the picture that somehow this has happened, somehow that to me has happened, this I am not sure about, and somehow this has happened. And so we can't help. I don't know if this makes sense to anybody else. But here is an example of the different kinds of inequality we have in South Africa amongst these 10 class groups. Guys, we have to address this. And of course, in Johannesburg, there are fully integrated suburbs, the most ones that I visit there are, but what is happening at the base, what's happening here, we need to solve that. And only being honest about the history of colored, black, white and Indian is going to help us assess it. It's a practical reality, and it's for the sake of this kind of neighborhood and that kind of neighborhood. Do you understand? That is the reality, guys. So yeah. So one other thing I wanted to ask you, Lillian, if you would one day do a video on this, please, my love. Okay, this is my video called Give Black South Africans Some Peace. In this video, I address how in the last few years, the media all over the world has really come and said such conflicting things about them, but how consistently they are, the bad guys. So people, one American guy even came for black mothers. So I tried to show all these people who were inspired by their mothers and how their mothers raised them. This is Gracia Michelle. Everybody says we're xenophobic, and yet we had a Mozambican first lady. And I carry on. I go and show examples of white people around the world doing it, examples of the media, examples of colored people doing it, and I explain everything, and I explain how many black South Africans have handled it and what my opinions are on that. And even Meghan Markle, guys, insulted black South Africans at a time when she was very unpopular in the world. It was South Africa. Well, not just black South Africans, she meant it for all South Africans, but it was South Africa that was still supporting them, and here this guy insults black mothers in South Africa. Here's the Britain getting upset about certain beauty pageants and saying we don't care about black women, and I show that, and I show our reasons. I'm really trying to anybody who wants to listen to our humanity and our practical stuff on the ground. You know, here's someone saying on her channel we're anti-black. Here's someone saying to a more white audience that we are anti-white, claiming that black South Africans, more than me even, are doing a white genocide. So genophobia and xenocide, let me put it that way, right? And here's somebody trying to explain, you know, all of these things. And here, last year, an English rugby player coming for a black South African. There is so much beneath the surface, you know, within and without our country, people consistently taking for granted the disrespect of black South Africans. And I was showing the pride I have in them as a colored South African. And just, you know, and I only put in a few examples. I could put in 1,000. There's so many things to love about black South Africans. It's so easy to search if you want to look for it. You know, it's so inspirational. The internet is filled with it, and instead people are consistently looking to just make them collateral damage in a racism they fought more than anybody else in this world, and justifying just wounding them and justifying using them. And so, yeah, and then also making light of the contribution South Africa has made around Africa as well. So Lillian, if you could just respond to this stuff, I would deeply appreciate it, even if you did it in segments. I believe that's all I have to say. I want to say an ocean more, but I don't want to overburden you. You have not overburdened us. You've been nothing but a support. Oh, why am I showing my own face? I'm supposed to show your pretty face. Where is my Lillian? My bohlale, my lady, my star. Thank you for being a sister. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for listening in a nuanced way. We genuinely appreciate it. Hamba kahle, which means go well for now. Ciao for now, Lillian. Bye.